Good morning. Let's go ahead and get rolling. So real quick, Unit 2 stuff. If you submitted things over the weekend, I'm slowly working through them since there's no longer a mad dash to get things done and graded and back to you. I'm working through them at a more manageable pace, but I will have everything back to you by tomorrow. So if you've got anything in there, hang tight. I will get that back to you. If there is a grade in there that doesn't look right to you, please let me know. There's a weird like matrix glitch in Google Classroom where every now and then, and it happened to a couple of you last unit, someone will submit a video and I just won't get notified. And unless I actually click on that person's name, then I'll see the attachment, but I don't get notified and it doesn't pop into my my folder of things to be graded. So if you've got a 0 hanging out there, that you know shouldn't be there because you actually submitted something, just let me know, and I'll go in and see if you got caught in that weird like Google Classroom purgatory. Okay, so on tap for today, we got a little bit of sight reading, tenor, clef to warm you up. We're gonna go through kind of in a more methodical way this idea of constructing a rhythm canon that abides by the parameters that you'll have for your Unit 3 assignment. And then I'm gonna send you off into groups to practice a little bit. And then the very end of class, we are going to introduce and talk about the idea of using a German augmented 6th chord as a pivot chord. Okay, a little bit of tenor clef. This is in your course pack if you'd rather just read off the hard copy instead of looking up here. But we are going to go through and just maneuver our way through this line. So you're in C major. You're starting on Mi. Let's go, for right now, we'll go for system just through here. Ignore the fermatas and just sing right through them in time. Give it a look. So you're pretty well contained kind of between C and Mi for the most part. Not a lot of range to navigate. So let's see how you do. Starting Mi's for everyone. I'll play you the bass line so that you have some anchoring. 1, 2, 3. Mi, re. Mi, re, do, si. So you end on C, part of a half cadence. Let's do it again. Be really careful with this flat 7 versus the natural 7 that comes right after. So you've got that C, which is the flattened version of C, and then you go right back to the diatonic version in the next measure. Let's go again. Go a little bit slower. 1, 2, 3. Mi, re, re, do, si, la, sol. Do, re, mi, re, do, si. Okay, fine. Take a look at the second phrase. We'll go from pick up to the second system all the way to the end. You're starting on Do. Trickiest part, obviously, is right here. Let's see how you do. So starting Do's for everyone. I'll play bass line with you. 1, 2, and Do, re, mi, si. So you should be on, so you have the 5th of that triad as we finish up. One really challenging spot is actually right as we get into this passage. So the bass line is invoking a little bit of harmonic minor, of melodic minor, of a melodic minor. But you actually have to tune against, since I'm just giving you the bass line, you're here on Joe, you start the phrase with the bass on me and you on Joe. You stay on Joe, but you've got to tune against that F sharp. So as a little bit of a challenging passage. And then you're pretty much home free once you get to beat 3. Can we try just the last phrase and then we'll be done? Let's go from here. So you're on Do. 1, 2, and Do, Do, Si. So nailing that descending fifth can be challenging too. Do, do, si, mi, fa, sol, do, si, so. All right, fine, fine, fine. Consider yourself warmed up. Let's talk rhythm cannons. Now, we went through these kind of in small groups on Thursday, maybe Tuesday. I can't remember anymore. Everything's a blur. But let's talk a little bit more specifically about this idea of constructing these polyrhythms in the constraints that you're going to be given for your assignment. So you'll have, just like we've been doing in class, you'll be creating 4 measures in 2/4. And you'll have to have at least 1 instance of 2 against 3 and 1 instance of 2 against 4. So let's talk about our options for 2 against 3. There are 2 ways you can go about this. The sort of small scale way, which is just taking regular eighth notes and having them superimposed on triplets, one way or the other, doesn't matter. But that's one way, and that just takes up 1 beat. And there's also the option of having regular quarter notes superimposed on quarter note triplets. So that option obviously will take up an entire measure rather than just 1 beat, but they are both expressions of 2 against 3. Now, similar vein, what are your options for 3 against 4? There's the stick it in 1 beat option, which is having 1 beat of triplets superimposed against a beat of 16th notes. Or again, there is an option that you can take up the entire measure with this polyrhythm. And in that case, it would be your quarter note triplets superimposed over a full measure of eighth notes. So again, one option takes 1 beat, one option takes the full measure or 2 beats to complete. But both of them will give you that polyrhythm in some form. Now, for me, the best way to go about kind of constructing my canon, because you have to make sure that when you're at a 1 measure delay, that's when you get the polyrhythms. So the best way for me, at least, to go about constructing this is to actually write out what I want or what I think is going to be my 4 measures of rhythm, and then write out the second part, a measure displaced right under it, so I can see. Because in doing that, so let's say this is my first measure. And then I'm going to color code this so it's easier to see. This is my second measure. And then let's say this is my third measure. And this is my fourth measure. You are going to repeat your canon. So then you're going to have your first measure again, second, third, and fourth. So then my second voice then is going to come in here. And then my second measure will be here. Its third measure will be here. And its fourth measure will be here. So looking at this, you can see these are going to be your layered combinations. So now you know, okay, I need to build this canon so that when measure 2 sits on top of measure 1, there's a polyrhythm. Or when measure 3 sits on top of measure 2, there's a polyrhythm. So at least like looking at it, you know, okay, this is vertically what's going to happen. You can construct a great 4 measures of rhythm, but actually have it not work in canon in terms of the polyrhythms because you don't have them spaced properly. So with that then, I'm going to put you guys in some breakout rooms. And you are going to some degree, do the same thing you did last week. You're going to construct 4 measures of 2/4. And in those 4 measures, you must have at least 1 expression of 2 against 3 and at least 1 expression of 3 against 4. Now, once you've got that settled, you guys can practice it once or twice as a group if you want. I also would like you to explore practicing it individually. And by that, I mean you as your own person are speaking one line and then tapping the following line. That's how you're going to perform it for your Unit 3 assignment. And it is a little tricky, so I want you to get a little bit of experience now playing around with how that's going to feel and how the practicing process is going to be for that. So let me go ahead and send you off. There will be 2 to 3 of you in a room. Yeah, that'll do. So create your canon, practice your canon as a group and also individually once you feel comfy. Okie dokie, off you go. A rhythm canon. And you will be responsible for speaking one line and tapping the other, which is why I attempted to have you practice some of that today. I'm going to be perfectly honest, it's not that easy, so my suggestion would be like to practice it sometime soon. And that assignment will be really fun if you don't cram it into the last like 30 minutes before the deadline. If you try and do it at 11:59, it's gonna suck. So the best way to get those polyrhythms in your body is just to kind of do them every day for 3 minutes. So be thinking about that as we're looking ahead towards Unit 3. All right, cool. Last thing I have on my to-do list is modulations. So before we actually get into the modulations themselves, we're going to play a little bit of Name That Tune. Historically, I usually have 1 person per year who successfully names it. So I'm going to play a reduction of a piece for you. And I'm actually going to kind of stop every now and again and ask you to sing a resolution. So it starts like this with this particular harmony. And I would like you to sing where this wants to go. So here's your harmony. Where does this want to go? Who is it tonicizing? Go ahead and sing the resolution. And then here. Can you sing this resolution? That was actually a cheap shot question. Now can you sing this one? Where does this one want to go? Can you sing that resolution? And then a few bars later, that triad gets revoiced to here. And then it gets turned into this. And can you sing the resolution for that? Okay, so that is, in a very short and squished form, the opening of Beethoven 1. And the reason that I asked you to sing all those resolutions, so there are 4 different resolutions that occur. And more than likely, over the course of those 4, you sang 3 different resolution pitches. So there were all these dominant sounding chords that all went to different places. So we started out with a C dominant that went to F. So the very first harmony of that symphony is a C dominant 7. that resolves to F. And then it immediately goes to a G7 that resolves deceptively to A minor. And that turns into a D7 that resolves to G. And we stay on that G for a while. The G turns into a G7. And we resolve to C. And C major is the key of the movement. But for it being a movement that is in C major, we start on a C dominant 7. So we start on a 5-7 of 4. The reason I'm bringing that up with this topic in mind is not that it contains a German 6 at all, but this idea that when we hear a major minor 7th chord, when we hear this sonority, we are kind of trained to some degree to immediately say that's a 5-7. It's a 5-7 of someone, and it should then resolve like that. Maybe if we're being really fancy, it'll resolve that way in a deceptive cadence. But we hear this, we think 5-7. And with that, the drop-down menu of resolution options kind of opens up and is quite small. However, a German augmented 6 chord also sounds like that. It just behaves entirely differently. So this German 6-5 reinterpretation of the 5-7 becomes a really kind of cool slippery way to modulate into a new key by exploiting our expectations of what a major minor 7th sounding chord should do. Let's go ahead and, can we sing through this? So I'm going to put some baseline numbers on this. We're starting with a nice easy tonic predominant to a 5-7, and then we're going to respell that 5-7 as a German augmented 6 chord. So let's review scale degrees for starters. So your German 6, we're going to a minor key, so your German 6 is going to be on diatonic 6, and your numbers then, when we first teach augmented 6 chords, we really rely on the outside initially. So your outer numbers are 6 and sharp 4. And then a German flavor augmented 6 has within it scale degree 1 and also scale degree 3. Then from there, we move to our cadential 6-4 because German 6s have to go to a cadential 6-4 first. And we are going to repeat that scale degree 5, just humor me. So you're going to sing it 5-1-3-5 so that we get that nice 6-5 and sharp 4-5 resolution. And then regular old 5 triad and regular old 1 chord. I say this every time we sing in a minor key, but I will remind you again, your friendly neighborhood reminder, that 6-5 in a minor key is a half step. Let's just go ahead and sing. So once you get to the German 6, you don't have to worry about finding the pitches because you just sang them as a 5-7. Once you get there, moving to the cadential 6-4 is super easy because you have the middle notes already. You just sang them. So all you have to do is move 6 down to 5 and then match that octave on the top. Okay, let's go. Let's see how you do. I'll play with you. No triplets on the 7th chord, just everything nice and steady. On numbers, ready, and. Turn this into a German 6. 6, 1, 3, sure, 3, 1, 6. Down a half step. 5, 1, 3, 5, 3, 1, 5. Regular 5 chord. 5, 7, 2, 7, 5. And resolve. Okay, now, I think that those modulations are actually way easier to sing and way easier to navigate than reinterpreting the 7 chord. But let's talk about key areas. So we started out just arbitrarily and by my choice. We started out in F. So we were in F major to start. So we had F and B flat and C in the bass. So that C then became scale degree 6 in our new key. We went down a half step to find scale degree 5. So if B natural is scale degree 5, that means that E is scale degree 1. So we went from F major to E minor. Obviously very close on a keyboard, very close in the scale, but in terms of key areas, not very closely related. We can also use this pivot to go, we could just as easily have gone to E major, which would have been even sort of further away. But when you just take the 5-7 of the key and turn it into a German 6, that is going to stick you a half step away. So your tonics are super, super close to one another in terms of kind of tonal space or chromatic space. We're going to see a lot of examples. It's very rare to just take the 5-7 and use it as a German 6. It's more common to use an applied 5, so like a 5-7 of 4, and turn that into a German 6. But that is your intro to the German 6 as a pivot chord. We will explore more with that on Thursday when I see you. Stuff for Unit 3 is already up there. So there's a 4-minute introduction video. Watch it on double speed. I genuinely don't care. Just watch it, please. And then the stuff for your song. So you only have one song for this unit. And the information is up there already. So the song choice video, which again is 4 minutes, and then the prep videos for both of the songs. Guys, we can tell when you don't watch the videos, because then you submit a video that is doing the song in the wrong key on the wrong system. So like, put them on double speed. I genuinely don't care. Just watch the daggone thing, or scroll to the end where all the information is, so that we don't have to send a video back to you after 30 seconds saying, please go watch the video and resubmit this, because that's not fun for anybody. So watch the stupid things, please. And try and get that song out of the way. It's the biggest thing you've got this unit. If you can knock it out of the way early, you are going to like your life a lot better 2 weeks from now when the deadline for the unit is staring you in the face. All right, wonderful. I will see you guys on Thursday. Have a great start to your week.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.